Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
One thing kids want to do is they want to have turns competing. So you got to set up some sort of goal for them. One of my favorites is to perch a golf ball on the edge of a cup and then back off 15, 20, 30 feet and say, okay, here's 3 golf balls. You got 3 chances to bump that golf ball over into the hole. That does a couple of things brain-wise, but fundamentally what it does is it gives a kid a non-rule-based game to play. They really get into that. They go ahead and take their turn, and maybe they get close and miss, and you say, okay, my turn. You push them out of the way, and you take your 3 balls, and the second one you bump it over in the hole, and you laugh at them. You say, I got mine. And they'll push you out of the way and say, okay, my turn again. And so they'll put 3 balls down, and then they'll do better. And so you get going that way. You just make the green a playground where kids are not penalized for any kind of misses or anything. They just get turn after turn after turn, and they have all the fun they want.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to Golf Smarter, Geoff.
Hey, Fred, how you doing?
You know, it's so cool. This being episode number 313, it is officially the launch of our 7th year of Golf Smarter.
Wow.
I know.
7-year itch.
7-year itch. Well, we're going to scratch it all year long. Now, it's not 7 years of I did take 2 weeks off this year of publishing shows, but so that means 313 shows in 315 weeks. Not bad. Not bad. But man, it's been a long time since you've been on Golf Smarter, but I still want to remind everybody that Golf Smarter Tips, which is a show that you were involved with me in 2008. And you were doing a single episode every single week all through 2008. There's 160 some odd episodes sitting out there. And it's in iTunes. Everyone should go check it out. And you were doing like a 5-minute piece. Well, you were doing 10 minutes once a week. And it was either answering questions from the audience or giving one amazing golf putting tip. And you are the putting guru of all time. That's and right. So, and you agree. And
wait a minute.
What was that?
That was my little bell.
For what?
I just have a bell whenever something momentous is said, I'll ring a bell.
Ow. Okay.
I'm just teasing.
Man, hopefully our ears are going to be ringing because you're going to ding it when you say something momentous. Anyway, Golf Smarter Tips. 3 years we haven't published a new episode, and we're still getting thousands of downloads a month.
Wow.
People are still discovering your tips, the show, and I just can't be more pleased that people are still discovering that show. So thank you again for that.
Well, thank you for doing such a marvelous job.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about putting.
Sure.
Here's where I want to start. An interesting thing happened to me recently. A friend of mine came to me and he said, look, I have a little kid. You know, my son's going to be about 8 years old now, and he's expressed some interest in golf. How do I get him started in golf? And I said, keep him away from the driving range. I said, do not put a golf club in his hand, because hitting a golf ball is probably the hardest thing to do, and also there's no satisfaction. I mean, for us, satisfaction, seeing the ball fly through the air and hitting as far as you can. Well, a kid can't do that. I said, take him to the practice putting green, make it that you compete with him, and if you get satisfaction when you see the ball go in the cup. And if you can get a kid excited about putting the ball in the cup and get him good at putting and comfortable with putting, golf's going to be easy after that. And if he's comfortable with putting starting as a kid, his life is set as a golfer.
I think so.
Okay, well, it's been great talking to you, Geoff. Thanks for agreeing with me.
That was nice. I appreciate that.
So, I mean, when people, I mean, do you take that same approach about with people and their kids saying, here's what to do with kids? Do you have an answer to that question?
Absolutely.
Talk to me.
Okay, well.
All right, so now, hey, Geoff, I've got an 8-year-old kid, and he's interested in golf. How do I get him started?
Leave me alone with him.
Oh, no, man, that is such a dangerous thing to say these days.
I know it is.
You don't coach basketball, do you? All right, so
no,
football? No, you don't do it.
Seriously, what you say is let's get on the putting green and play.
Right.
And you have to strip away the years of your own life so you can play with them.
Right.
You got to just get out there and go nuts and have fun. One thing kids want to do is they want to have taking turns competing. All right, so you got to set up some sort of task or goal for them. One of my favorites is to perch a golf ball on the edge of a cup or a hole in the green and then back off 15, 20, 30 feet and say, okay, here's 3 golf balls. You got 3 chances to bump that golf ball over into the hole.
Oh, good
Take a shot.
Yeah.
That does a couple of things brain-wise, but fundamentally what it does is it gives a kid a non-rule-based game to play. And it's kind of like Chuck E. Cheese and skee ball or something like that. So they really get into that. They go ahead and take their turn, and maybe they get close and miss, and you say, okay, my turn. And you push them out of the way, and you take your 3 balls, and the second one, you bump it over in the hole, and you laugh at them. You say, I got mine. And they'll push you out of the way and say, okay, my turn again. And so they'll put 3 balls down, and then they'll do better. And so you get going that way. You just make the green a playground, a little kid competition place where kids are not penalized for any kind of misses or anything. They just get turn after turn after turn, and they have all the fun they want. That's a biggie. A second biggie is you take a little ruler that you buy at CVS or Walgreens or Walmart or Target or wherever it is. It's like 79 cents. It's made out of wood. And on the top side of it, it has a little groove or channel lengthwise across the 1-foot ruler. You put that down and aim it at a hole from about 3 feet away, and then you put the golf ball on the ruler in the channel. And then you show the kid how to knock the golf ball down the channel off the ruler 3 feet across the green, and it goes bang into the hole. And they go, oh, let me do that. And so they hit the ball off the ruler, and it goes in the hole. All right, so what you just said was you want to get kids having success of ball going in a hole. Well, what I found out is that kids don't care if there's some sort of mechanism that guarantees it'll go in the hole. They just want to see it go in the hole. So this little channel thing from 3 feet away, you couldn't miss it if you tried unless you can't just roll it off the end of the ruler. So there's implicit learning of how to putt straight off a ruler that's really big-time good for teaching golf without even using any words. But the main thing is that the ball goes in the hole from 3 feet away. And then the kid is like going, hey, cool. And you say, okay, now I'm going to give you this ruler. Because the rulers only cost like 50, 79 cents.
No. I'll sell you this ruler.
No.
If you take out the garbage.
That's worse. That's worse than the basketball coach thing. You can't do it. So anyway, so you give the kid the ruler. And if there's 10 of them out there, you give them 10 rulers. You know, what's the skin off your nose?
Yeah, right.
Big deal. So they're carrying something away from the putting green that they didn't know it could be used in that creative way.
Neither did I.
And you can give kids two sticks and a string for a string line, show them how to use it on a putting green. They will remember that for 50 years straight. I've done junior clinics. It's always great to give a kid something that reminds them of a toy to use on a putting green. I don't care what it is. Golf ball, tee marker, tee peg, string line, ruler that you hit balls off of. Okay, so we got this ruler. If you back it away another 5 feet, ball still goes in the hole. Kids go nuts. They're making 5-foot putts. Back it away 10 feet, ball still goes in the hole. So then you start creating little games. One game is who can two-putt from 30 feet? Mm. So first, when you perch the little golf ball on the edge of the green, or the edge of the hole, and you said bump it in, the main thing that happens with that you as an instructor notices is that 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, you ask them to putt it to a golf hole, an unadorned, naked hole in the green. They smack it way past it. Sure. They have no sense of distance control with their bodies. They don't have those experiences. But when you perch the golf ball on the edge of the hole and you say, take your ball, roll it over there, and bump that other ball over the edge into the hole, their touch suddenly appears. Their ability to read the surfaces and to manage the line and the stroke suddenly appears, and they get very, very close even though they've never tried it before in their lives. It just sort of resonates with other things they know how to do. And you don't have to teach them how to do it. You just say, this is the game, bump the ball over in the hole. So they got distance control. And then you parlay that into the next level. Okay, let's go 30 feet away without a ball perched on the hole and see who can two-putt. Who can get the first one close enough so that the second one is easy.
And you're not saying try to get it in the hole from 30 feet.
No. You're saying who can do it in two.
So it makes it levels the playing field.
Yeah. And you're like a chum. You're a buddy laughing at them if they mess up. They knock it over there and they take three. You say, I'm going to beat you. Right. You do it in two. And then you say, okay, now you got another turn. Kids are all about the next turn. They're not about getting stuck on failing. They don't even care about the ribbon. They like that. Mm-hmm. It's just that they got to have another turn. And if you can ignite that desire to have the next turn, time will fly by. They'll have a great time, and they'll love to play golf.
And if they become, like I said, you become a good putter when you're a kid, and that's your expertise. You're going to be a great golfer.
Well, that's true.
And because then you go out and start hitting them. It's like that's not where you should start.
Yeah, just get me on the green.
Yeah.
Get me on the green.
And you can take a kid on, it's like, and you've seen kids, and guys trying to teach their kid, oh, no, change your grip. No, your elbow's not. It's like, leave the kid alone,
That's right.
It's nerve-wracking to watch them do that.
That's why I started out saying, leave me alone with your kid.
Walk away.
I didn't really want to be alone with the kid. I just want the parent to go away.
Right. Step away from the child.
That's right. Step away from the child. You're far too old and authoritative.
Yeah. And you've got too much invested in it.
Yeah. You're wanting to see things yourself.
Right.
Let the kid develop.
I got to believe that those two methods, one with a ruler, one with tapping it in, has got to work for everybody who's having putting issues.
Well, I carried around and handed it to PGA professionals to show them how to putt, too.
Tell me more.
I do the same thing. I was just working for 2 days with the golf coach at Coastal Carolina, Alan Terrell. He's a dedicated individual. He spends almost all his life teaching young golfers how to do well in college golf Division I and how to prepare for golf as a lifetime, or whether professionally or otherwise. And I was showing him the same thing. Touch, distance control has a lot to do with perching a ball on the edge of a hole. It has to do with relating your body and your stroke to the very definitely clear space that is much clearer when there's a golf ball sitting on the edge of a hole than it is when it's just a hole sitting in the green. Hole sitting in greens are kind of like prairies with gopher holes. They're sort of undefined, wide expanses of space. But when you perch a golf ball on the edge of a hole, it's like a Wallace Stevens poem. I placed a jar in Tennessee, and round it was upon a hill. The act of placing an artifact in space defines the space a lot more clearly than it was prior to putting the golf ball on the edge of the hole. So for purposes of sports expertise in putting, distance control has a lot to do with whether you are defining the space clearly, defining where it is and what you want to happen there. The golf ball on the hole does both of those automatically and intrinsically and implicitly without you having to explain it. There it is, and what do you want to happen? Bump it in the hole. So it's location and action at location. That's always implicitly required if you're going to have good touch. Jack Nicklaus, for example, when he's planning his tee shot, he doesn't just plan it in a direction. He doesn't plan it in yardage. he plans it in what piece of grass he wants the first bounce to hit on. And he wants the last bounce to be a good lie for his approach shots into the 12th green at Augusta or whatever it is. I don't even know if that's a par 3 or not. But, some of the things that he would do he would actually know all the Latin names of all the plants along the golf course. And he would look down there and he would see what we English people just refer to as a willow tree.
As a plant.
Yeah, some sort of tree.
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, look, there's a tree. It's the white one with the green around the outside.
He would see a willow tree on the right side of the fairway about where he's going to land his ball. And you know what he would think? This is in his book. He would think willow trees suck a lot of water out of the ground. They're very thirsty trees. And that means that the dirt nearby one of these willow trees is going to be hard pan. And that means that if I land my golf ball off the tee shot on that part of the ground near the willow tree,
come on.
No, he said it in the book. He said I'll get an extra 20 yards.
A bigger bounce.
Yeah, and he'll get that edge and he'll win.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. But my point is that he's landing the ball on a specific spot, a where and a what happens there. Mm-hmm. When you're on a driving range and there's a crow out there at 250 yards and you're a kid, a little bit of devilish in you, you say, I'm going to hit this driver shot or maybe even a 3-wood, and I'm going to land this golf ball within 5 yards of that crow and I'm going to make him hop.
Then you get your birdie.
That's golf. That's right. That's right.
We've talked about target golf numerous times on the show, and I remember this story, and I repeat it frequently. We had a guy named, do you know Marius Filmalter?
Sure.
Of course you do. And Marius, who played in the South African PGA Tour when he was a young man, and played with Gary Player, he tells this phenomenal story about Gary Player getting him to focus on a blade of the rake by the bunker 200 yards away, or whatever. It's like, what are you aiming at? And the punchline was, if you have a very specific point you're aiming at and miss it by 10 yards, that's a great shot. If you aim for the fairway and miss it by 10 yards, that sucks. That's a terrible shot.
Yeah. Well, Nick Price and others have always used stuff like that. Nick Price has a thing, I think it's in Golf Digest, about aiming at one leaf 300 yards away for his driver shot.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to see the ball in flight. It's a whole nother experience and level of satisfaction when you're picking someplace out there as your very specific target and hit it.
Right.
And you'll hit it more often by aiming at it than by just trying to hit the ball.
Yeah, it's the same thing as Harvey Pinnock used to teach about taking dead aim. And it's also the same thing encapsulated in the phrase, aim small, miss small. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, I just love those tips. And I love I love your answers. You've never had a short answer. That's what I like having you on the show. Okay, so we've gotten our kid into putting now, and now it's our turn to improve on putting. I'm just going to pick out a topic, and I know that you can entertain me for quite a while.
Okay.
The grip. Left hand low.
Okay. Left hand, and subtract the business about low. Low ain't got nothing to do with it. It's left hand.
Left hand for a right-handed putter.
Yeah, all right.
So why are we throwing out left hand low?
Well, because the low is just goofy stuff. The low is what you're going to do with your in relation to your right hand. You put your left hand down low and then you put your right hand up high. That's incorrect. Just put your left hand down low and then put your right hand down low with it.
Side by side.
Yeah.
Facing each other.
Let me explain it to you real quick. First of all, for a right-handed golfer, people do not seem to know this in golf because they're very silly about this right hand stuff. The left hand will swing true and down the line in Newtonian physics without any problem. The right hand has a biomechanical problem, and it never swings true and down the line. It swings across And the upper arm of the right arm, when it swings across the chest, conflicts with the side of the chest, and it makes it roll to the inside in a pull stroke. Duh. Everybody that's using their right hand is fighting that basic biomechanical fact, and it's just stupid. They should quit fighting it and use their left hand instead. Mm-hmm. Billy Casper said it he just screamed it from the rooftops in the 60s. And Harvey Penix has been teaching it to Ben Crenshaw ever since Crenshaw was a kid. Left hand, left hand, left hand. Well, I seconded it and I explained it because they didn't explain the biomechanical problem. But there's a second problem biomechanically with using the right hand, and that is once your stroke starts to clear the width of your feet in the forward stroke from the rear foot to the front foot is about 1.5 feet, maybe, or 15 inches, something like that. So there's like 7 inches in front of the ball. Once it gets to about the 6th or 7th inch in the forward stroke past the ball, the left armpit begins to widen open. When that happens, the right hand cannot keep up. It starts to fall off of the handle. And what happens in the actual situation is that the body that is used to that happening, the mind is not aware of this at all, but the body completely knows that that's getting ready to happen. Right before it happens, the right hand sort of freaks out and clutches onto the handle in a sort of a fetal reaction, which is also a pull. And that widening of the left armpit through the through stroke has an anticipatory grab of the right hand that ruins a lot of strokes. I'm talking about 50 to 60 to 70% of right-handed strokes are ruined by this opening of the armpit. So there's two biomechanical problems. One is the upper right arm conflicts with the side of the chest at the beginning of the through stroke, and the second is the widening of the left armpit causes the right hand to freak out and grab and pull strokes. So stop using the right hand. That's number one. Number two is if you increase the grip pressure of the left hand and take responsibility for the swing with the left hand and arm, the grip pressure of the left hand and arm should be slightly noticeably greater than the grip pressure in the right hand. Otherwise, the brain will get confused on what it is you're trying to do, and it'll start swinging with the right hand again. So the grip pressure needs to be slightly greater in the left hand. Next is the brain science of left hand versus right hand. Right-handers, they have this sort of pop psychology juvenile attitude towards what is a dominant hand. Hand dominance is not fixed and certain for all purposes. It depends on what it is you're doing with your hand. For example, you might be right-handed writing, but left-handed with the telephone. I personally am left-handed with a telephone. I can't even somehow or another, my habit is so deep that I can't even hold the phone with my right hand to my right ear. I can't hear the phone if I do that.
Wow.
I have a friend, Megan McChrystal, just graduated. She's the number one golfer in LSU, and she was number one in NCAA Division I her senior year, and she just graduated, and she's playing professionally now, and she's also teaching. She started teaching children. Her very first student was a 10-year-old boy, showed up. His mother delivered him, said, "This is his first golf lesson ever. We just went out and got him a set of clubs. He's left-handed, so we had to look for left-handed golf clubs." She started teaching him, and it wasn't all that great swinging left-handed. And she said, well, about a half an hour into it, she said, "Let's try right-handed and see what happens." She gave him a right-handed club and went whack, knocked one way out there. And she said, "Lord, you're right-handed." And he said, "Yeah, I know. I tried to tell my mother I'm only I'm only left-handed when I write."
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let me tell you more about the inside of the brain. You have two sides of the brain, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. The left hemisphere operates the right side of the body. So the left hemisphere operates the right hand. The right hemisphere operates the left hand. Now, what else is in the hemispheres? The left hemisphere, typically for probably 90% of all people, is where language and thought and paralysis by analysis happens to reside. That's the right hand. In the right hemisphere, That's where music and melody and body and space and birds singing in the trees and airplanes passing high overhead, that's in the right hemisphere. That's the left hand. Okay, so the left hand knows space and the body better than the right hand does. There's a second thing about the brain, which is how vision goes to the hands. If you look straight ahead, each eyeball can be envisioned as a little cereal bowl pointing outward. Straight ahead, everything to the right of straight ahead is going to come into your face and hit the left sides of those two bowls. Everything to the right of straight ahead is going to go to the left hemisphere and is going to tell the right hand about the visual world. That's everything to the right of your body. That's not where the target is. Everything to the left of your body is where the hole is where the fairway is where the cup is where the flag is. That visual experience comes into the little bowls and hits the right sides of the bowls, the inside of the right sides of the bowls, and goes to the right brain and informs the left hand. So the visual world is all about the left hand, at least for a right-handed golfer. And so people do not know what is dominance. They don't know about the human physiology of left and right hands, and they way underestimate the talent of the left hand for moving and knowing where space is. If you think that the left hand is no good, you don't know anything about baseball. I illustrate that all the time. I just say, look, I got a golf ball right here. Everybody get your left hand out of your pocket. And we're sitting around the table, and I start throwing that golf ball around. Everybody catches it. Left-handed.
Left-handed. Well,
everybody catches left-handed.
Yeah,
that's right.
Glove. Yeah.
That left hand knows all kinds of stuff. Right.
And I've always noticed that people tend to break their right wrist in a putt, but not necessarily the left, unless because they're pushing, right?
You don't want to power with the right hand either. Putting is not about power. Putting is about the size of the backstroke and the grace and symmetry of your tempo and rhythm. The size of the backstroke is all about the power, but that's not anything that you do with your muscles. That's a reaction of your body to the intentionality to a space, a distance, a situation on a green, whether it's uphill, downhill, fast or slow surface, far or short. As long as you have the space clearly defined and you relate your body to the space in purposes of your making your stroke, your body picks the size, but basically every stroke's the same in terms of tempo and rhythm. You don't power putts at all. So the right hand is a power thing. You don't even use that.
Right. All right, Geoff, listen, this is all the time that we have on this Golf Smarter episode. Do you have time to continue this conversation? Because I have 2 more questions for you that I know that are going to lead to 8 more for a long enough answer for another full episode, but it'll give me 8 more questions to follow. So do you have some more time? Can we?
I've got a whole pot of coffee.
Oh,
I'm ready.
All right. Yeah, because I want to get back into the size of the backstroke here. I mean, so join us and get this graduate course on putting with Geoff Mangum next episode of Golf Smarter for Members Only. And please, if you're not a member of Golf Smarter for Members Only, you're going to miss out on this conversation and going back into the archives, hearing Geoff multiple times, but also having over 300 episodes to choose from. Geoff, I truly appreciate your time and looking forward to the next episode. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Fred.